Picture yourself entering the gym without having consumed anything. No breakfast, no pre-workout drink, no protein bar during the drive. Just you, your physique, and an empty stomach. For most individuals, this concept immediately elicits resistance. It feels incorrect, unsafe, almost reckless. You've likely heard it your entire life. You require sustenance to train. Food provides energy, and a lack of food implies weakness. This conviction is so deeply ingrained that questioning it feels unsettling. Yet here's the uncomfortable truth most people never pause to consider. The meal you consume directly before your workout doesn't actually power that activity in the way you might believe. Once you grasp the underlying reasons, the entire discussion surrounding fasted exercise transforms. Most people conflate feeling revitalized with being adequately fueled. When you eat prior to training, your body secretes hormones in anticipation of incoming calories. This hormonal reaction can make you feel prepared, vigilant, even robust. However, that sensation doesn't originate from the food you just ingested. The energy you utilized during that workout was already stored in your body long before you set foot in the gym. This leads to a far more intriguing question. If the fuel is already present, what truly transpires when you exercise without consuming anything? And why do some individuals report feeling sharper, leaner, and more in command when they do? To comprehend why exercising without eating doesn't automatically deplete you, you must first understand how your body genuinely generates energy. Your body stores fuel in two primary forms, which operate quite differently. The first is glycogen, which is simply glucose stored in your liver and muscles, serving as your body's most readily available energy source. It's rapid, efficient, and easily accessible. The average adult stores approximately 400 to 500 grams of glycogen, equating to about 1,600 to 2,000 calories of usable energy. Depending on your activity level, this supply can last anywhere from 12 to 24 hours. The second fuel source is body fat, and here, perspective is crucial. Even a relatively lean person carries tens of thousands of calories stored as fat. This isn't just backup fuel. It's a substantial energy reserve. Here's the pivotal point many individuals overlook. Your body will always prioritize the easiest fuel first. As long as glycogen is available, your metabolism continues to draw upon it instead of tapping into fat. This isn't because fat is inherently bad, but because glycogen is more convenient. When food is constantly consumed, your body never has an impetus to practice burning fat efficiently. Over time, that metabolic flexibility diminishes. And that's when people begin to feel reliant on eating before every workout, despite the necessary fuel already being present within them. This is where the narrative most people have been told quietly unravels. The food you eat before a workout does not immediately transport itself into your muscles and magically become fuel. That's not how human digestion functions. When you consume a meal, it can remain in your stomach for 2 to 5 hours before it is sufficiently broken down to move into the small intestine. From there, nutrients are absorbed gradually over the subsequent 4 to 12 hours. In essence, the calories from your pre-workout meal are not available during that workout. They are being processed for later utilization. So, why do people feel more energized after eating? Because your brain anticipates fuel. Hormones like insulin and dopamine shift in expectation of incoming calories, generating a psychological and physiological state of readiness. It feels legitimate, but it's not the same as readily usable energy. The energy propelling your workout originates from stored glycogen and body fat, not the meal you just consumed. Once you clearly recognize that distinction, a different query arises. If fresh food isn't immediately required for energy, what alterations occur when glycogen levels start to dwindle? When you haven't eaten for 12 to 16 hours, your glycogen stores begin to diminish. They don't vanish entirely, but they are no longer abundant. And when glycogen becomes scarce, your body doesn't panic. It adapts by switching fuel sources. This is the juncture where fasted exercise alters the paradigm. With less glucose available, your metabolism is compelled to draw upon fat for energy. Fat cells commence releasing fatty acids into the bloodstream, and your liver converts some of that fat into ketones, an alternative fuel that your muscles and brain can utilize effectively. This transition isn't extreme or unnatural. It's a normal biological response that humans relied upon for survival long before constant access to food was a given. This capacity to smoothly transition between burning glucose and burning fat is known as metabolic flexibility. A healthy metabolism isn't restricted to a single fuel source. It adapts based on availability. However, when you eat frequently throughout the day, particularly refined carbohydrates, your body rarely needs to practice this switch. Consequently, it becomes less efficient at burning fat over time, not because something is malfunctioning, but because it's never demanded. Fasted exercise reintroduces that demand, training your body to access stored energy without undue stress or urgency. And once that metabolic shift is reactivated, a cascade of internal changes follows that most people never experience when they consistently train in a fed state. Once your body is no longer inundated with incoming glucose, a vastly different internal environment emerges. Insulin levels decrease, and this is more significant than many people realize. Insulin is not a fat-burning hormone. It is a storage hormone. When insulin is elevated, fat is effectively locked within fat cells. When insulin is low, that lock is disengaged, making fat accessible. During fasted exercise, no fresh glucose enters the bloodstream, so insulin remains suppressed. This alone allows a significantly greater amount of fat to be released and utilized for energy. Multiple studies have demonstrated that aerobic exercise performed in a fasted state can augment fat oxidation by 20 to 30% compared to the identical workout undertaken after eating. This isn't just motivation, it's fundamental physiology. Simultaneously, another potent hormone rises sharply: growth hormone. Growth hormone serves two crucial functions. It signals fat cells to release stored energy and aids in safeguarding muscle tissue from breakdown. Fasting by itself increases growth hormone. Exercise on its own increases growth hormone. When these two are combined, the effect is amplified. In some studies, growth hormone levels increased several-fold above baseline during fasting and exercise conditions. This is one of the primary reasons people are often surprised to discover they don't experience muscle loss when training fasted. In fact, many maintain or even enhance muscle tone while becoming leaner. Your body prioritizes survival. Muscle is valuable tissue that enables movement, work, and food acquisition. When energy is scarce, your biology does not hastily destroy it. Instead, hormones shift to preserve muscle while drawing fuel from fat. This is not a loophole. It's an inherent system. And when you grasp that these processes are occurring in concert, fat loss ceases to feel like a struggle and begins to feel like cooperation with your own physiology. As these hormonal shifts unfold, another significant change quietly takes place in the background. Your insulin sensitivity improves. Insulin sensitivity simply describes how efficiently your cells react to insulin. When sensitivity is high, your body requires very little insulin to transport glucose into muscles, where it can be used or stored. When sensitivity is low, your body must release progressively more insulin to achieve the same outcome. Over time, this pattern contributes to energy crashes, fat gain, and metabolic dysfunction. Fasted exercise disrupts this cycle. When you train without eating, insulin is already low. Your muscles still need fuel, so they become more adept at extracting glucose from the bloodstream with minimal insulin involvement. Your body learns to achieve more with less, and this improvement doesn't dissipate when the workout concludes. It can persist for hours afterward, accumulating over time. Mental clarity often also enhances, and this isn't a mere placebo effect. During fasting, Your liver produces ketones from fat. Ketones traverse the blood-brain barrier and provide a stable, efficient fuel source for the brain. Many individuals report feeling calmer, sharper, and more focused when they train in a fasted state. Fasting and exercise also elevate a protein called BDNF, which supports learning, memory, and brain resilience. Coupled with an increase in norepinephrine, a neurotransmitter linked to alertness, the mental shift begins to make sense. Your brain is responding to a state it recognizes as meaningful and adaptive. There's an evolutionary reason why all of this functions so seamlessly. For the majority of human history, food was not guaranteed. Our ancestors didn't awaken, consume breakfast, and then deliberate whether they possessed sufficient energy to move. They awoke hungry and had to move first in order to eat later. Hunting, gathering, and traversing long distances all occurred in a fasted state. If the human body became feeble, mentally clouded, or fragile without food, our species would not have endured. The inverse trait was selected for. Those who became more alert, more concentrated, and more capable when food was scarce were the ones who lived long enough to transmit their genes. Your body still carries that programming. It doesn't interpret short-term fasting as peril. It interprets it as a signal to mobilize resources, sharpen focus, and conserve what is most vital. Fasted performance isn't a contemporary hack. It's an ancient capability. Understanding that fasted exercise can be effective is one aspect. Knowing how to implement it judiciously is what truly makes it sustainable. Not all physical activity places the same demands on your energy systems, and that distinction is crucial when you haven't eaten. Low to moderate intensity aerobic exercise tends to yield the best results in a fasted state. Activities such as brisk walking, light jogging, easy swimming, or steady swimming rely heavily on fat for fuel. These endeavors can typically be sustained for extended durations without experiencing exhaustion, even after prolonged periods without nourishment. This is an excellent starting point for most individuals, enabling the body to acclimate without duress and fostering self-assurance instead of apprehension. In contrast, higher intensity physical activity, such as sprinting, high-intensity interval training, HIIT, or maximum effort jump rope, which leaves you breathless, relies significantly more on glycogen. When glycogen reserves are already partially depleted from fasting, performance may initially feel compromised. However, this does not imply impossibility. Rather, it signifies that adaptation requires time. Some studies indicate that after several weeks of metabolic adjustment, individuals can maintain high-intensity performance even with reduced glycogen availability. Nonetheless, prematurely accelerating this process can lead to difficulties. Adaptation is a reward for patience. Resistance training occupies an intermediate position. Lifting weights while fasted is feasible, and many individuals engage in it. Growth hormone plays a role in safeguarding muscle tissue during the workout. The critical aspect is what transpires afterward. Muscles necessitate protein for repair. Training while fasted, and subsequently delaying nutrition for too long, deprives the body of the essential building blocks required for regeneration. Although fasted exercise can be impactful, it is not universally suitable. Context is paramount. If you are pregnant or breastfeeding, your body's nutritional demands are elevated, making it an unsuitable time for experimentation. For individuals with a history of eating disorders, fasted training can reinforce unhealthy behaviors and should only be pursued with professional guidance. Those with type 1 diabetes or anyone utilizing insulin must exercise particular caution, as blood sugar regulation becomes considerably more intricate without food. Chronic kidney disease, being significantly underweight, or taking medications that require consumption with meals are also distinct scenarios where fasted exercise might prove more detrimental than beneficial. Even for otherwise healthy individuals, your body will signal when something is amiss. Persistent dizziness, heart palpitations that persist after rest, confusion rather than clarity, extreme weakness or nausea are all indicators to cease activity. These are not marks of discipline. They are warnings. A straightforward rule applies. If symptoms do not alleviate within 10 to 15 minutes of resting and hydrating, terminate the session and consume something light. Fasted exercise should feel deliberate, not punitive. When integrating all these considerations, a clear understanding emerges. Exercising in a fasted state is neither irresponsible nor extreme, nor is it exclusive to elite athletes or biohackers. It is a tool. Like any tool, its effectiveness depends on judicious application and restraint. Your body was not engineered to require continuous sustenance for functioning. It was designed for adaptation, for shifting fuel sources, and for safeguarding vital systems when resources are scarce. Fasted exercise simply prompts your metabolism to recall how to accomplish this. This does not imply that everyone should train on an empty stomach. Rather, it means you now comprehend when it can be advantageous, when it can be detrimental, and how to approach it without compromising muscle performance or long-term health. The objective is not suffering. It is control. Control over your energy, your metabolism, and the daily signals your body communicates. Therefore, the fundamental question arises. Some coaches adamantly assert that one should never exercise without eating, while others advocate fasted training as the sole correct approach. Having considered the complete perspective, what is your stance? Is fasted exercise overvalued, undervalued, or simply misunderstood? Please share your thoughts in the comments. And if this information has altered your perception of your body, subscribe for further scientifically backed insights into its actual operations.